Hi everyone, Kevin with Wildlife Revealed here.
And Tristan.
Tristan, and we are on another special assignment. We had someone call us with a problem. Basically, she has 4 baby barn owls that cannot be returned to the nest. So we're meeting up with her so that we can get the babies, take care of them, and get them to a rehabber and hopefully eventually released again. We're here with Lily. So Lily, you have a few barn owls in here. I'm just going to peek this up so we can count real quick and take a look at them. And oh yeah, they're little 4 of different sizes. So I'm going to put them on the scale when we get home and make sure they get fed up. So what can you tell? Where did they end up? Let's see here. Get it to focus again.
Yeah.
Hear them? Can you hear them hissing in there?
Yeah,
They're trying to.
Oh, you slipped. Okay, sorry.
He'll be okay. The problem is there's slick underneath all that stuff, and so their feet don't go under them very well. One of the things that I'll do too is put a towel or something under them. Mm-hmm. When they're little and their bones start growing, their legs and feet can kind of splay out if it's on smooth surface.
Well, that's why they're great to have that fake grass.
That's perfect. That's actually what I use a lot too. And so, yeah, you hear that's a little voice he's saying, feed me, but there's 4 distinct sizes there. So we'll get them out and weigh them. I want to go ahead and close them up, keep them calm and quiet. So where did they end up coming from? Where did you?
They are from Encino, Texas, and their local wildlife center down there was closed because of probably COVID-19 and funding issues.
Right.
So we ended up bringing them up here because we were able to contact someone local that could help.
Well, I'm glad to be able to help. So, and you said, so they were, when you were out on a game ranch, they were tossed out of a deer blind. Is that what you said?
Oh, some sort of blind. We found them. They were kind of a ways, and they were just like in some carpet and just kind of there. And one of them looked almost dead, pretty much. And so we thought if we could pick them up, they were going to either get eaten or just.
Well, in the sun, we'll cook them, but yes, something would eat them. You can hear them hissing, trying to scare us away. Well, it's commonplace for barn owls, especially to nest in deer blinds. They are cavity nesters. That is a dry, safe, up high environment, and quite often there may be feeders and all kinds of things around, and that attracts mice and other small critters, and then they will nest in there and raise their babies. And all the time, rehabbers get calls, oh, I need someone to come and get these owls. They're in my deer blind. Well, normally by the time hunting season comes around, those owls will be long gone. And they're doing you a favor of eating the mice and other critters that are problem animals. And so whenever we can, we tell them to just leave them alone or put them back. Now in this case, unfortunately, didn't even know where they came from exactly, or it sounds like if someone wanted to go back in this blind, they would probably do the very same thing, very inconsiderate. So I'm happy that you found them. The first thing I'm going to do, I'll get them back, weigh them, make sure that they, see if they need any extra fluids, but I'm going to fill them up on all kinds of yummy mice and mice guts and make sure to get the calcium and other things in there. Thank you for bringing them to me. I'm going to get them home and get them to a rehabber tomorrow.
Thank you for taking them.
You are welcome.
We know they need pro hands, but
well,
they are lovely.
I'm happy to help out, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, here we are with our box of baby barn owls. It was late when I got back last night, so I went ahead and just fed them up and then had to get up again at 3 in the morning for late night feeding for the little ones. And wanted to say a little something about the fact they're in this cardboard box. That's the best way to transport birds, raptors like this to get to a rehab center for lots of reasons. Now, for starters, boxes can be folded down and stay flat in the back of your car, real easy, not take up a lot of space. But also you can fold it closed and it's nice and dark and it'll keep them calm whenever you're transporting them. One of the best things though is that it's disposable. So when you get to the other end, they can just take the birds out. You see all the droppings in the bottom there? Well, they can be just thrown away. The box can be thrown away, and also if they have any sort of diseases or things like mites, all that's in this box can be disposed of. And so, I actually rescued a bird one time and it was covered with mites. Well, the great thing is I just took this box out later and just burned it on the burn pile, kill all those little bugs. And another time is I brought a injured vulture, was hit by a car. Well, it vomited all over the inside of the box, and that's some vile stuff and really stinky. And so I was able to just take it out and get rid of it. Now, one important thing I need to do here, you notice that little barn owl there has his legs kind of out to the side. He's on slick surface, and that's not good for their little feet and legs because it's going to cause their joints and their legs to be splayed out and not work correctly. So I'm going to get them onto something, get a little bit of traction, and that way their legs can grow correctly. So I'm going to show you what I have set up here in just a second. We'll get to the feeding of the owls. All right, so here we go. We got our setup for feeding the baby owls and taking care of them. Now, what I'm going to do here, that's my little makeshift nest to hold them while I feed them or weigh them. I'm going to get a weight on them. And this is a great way to track, make sure that they are putting on weight and healthy, and make sure we're not going backwards with things. A whole bag of adult mice here for the bigger owls. I'm hoping I can get them to swallow the mice whole. Easiest way to feed and fill them up. And has 100% of the whole diet. Whole diet's super important, especially when they're little. They need lots of calcium because their little bones are growing like crazy, and also they're going to start trying to grow feathers in. So we want the feathers to grow in correctly without weak spots, because then they'll break and not be able to fly very well. But also in the littler birds, as they grow those bones, they need the calcium, because that way the bones will grow correctly, because without calcium and vitamin D, they can get things like rickets and have weak bones or deformed bones. And then right here for the littler ones, as lovely as this is skinned and gutted and chopped up mice. I spared you the video of me skinning mice and gutting them and cutting them up, but we're going to feed them to the owls in this form, especially the little one. And what I've done is put a little bit extra water in there. I want to make sure he's not dehydrated. They were apparently laying out in the sun for for most of a day, and so I put a little extra water in there. Now, they wouldn't be drinking water in the wild. They get their moisture from the food Mom brings back and feeds them, so just add a little bit of moisture to that. That's why the whole mice are so important, and quite often I will just wet the mice, get the fur wet, and then that's extra moisture to go in. And then this is my little brooder nest box. And all I did is put an old towel on the bottom of it, but it's coarse so those little talons can get traction on it, and it's soft so the littler ones will huddle up in the corner. Now owls are big enough, their body temperature should be self-regulating. And also barn owls, there's multiple, so they'll crowd together and help keep each other warm. Now, in the case that it wasn't warm enough for them, what I do is I have a little reptile heater that is stuck to the bottom of this. You get it at any pet store, and it's got a sticky. You stick on the bottom of it in this cord, and you can plug it in, and it never really gets too terribly hot, but it helps keep it around maybe 80 degrees, and it warms it from the bottom. And the little owls, if they're too cold, they'll migrate to the warmer end here. If it's a little too warm, you'll notice they'll kind of move away from it, and it gives them a chance to regulate their temperature on their own. And right now, there's no top on it. These guys are not even close to branching, no feathers yet, so I'm not worried about them coming out the top. I will sometimes lay a towel over the top if I want to hold a little more heat in or keep it dark and quiet. But we're going to get started. I'm going to start with the littlest baby here and start feeding him and get a weight on him and get everybody taken care of. So here we go. All right, so got my scale set up, my little sort of makeshift nest here. It helps to hold the owl babies in place on top of this slick scale. And I am going to set this to grams. I prefer to weigh it in grams, gives a more precise reading. And also when they're little bitty, they don't weigh too terribly much. I'm going to start with the littlest one, so let me get in here and get this little slinger out. Now, it's actually a myth that if you touch a baby bird, Mom will smell you and won't take it back. It's not true at all. Most birds don't have a sense of smell at all, or if they do, it's a very poor one. So what I've got here, 196 grams. Well, I've got my skinned and gutted mouse here, so I'm going to see if I can fill him up, keep track of how much he's going to eat. Now, I like to use the hemostats for a number of reasons. Now, one, keeps my fingers a little further back and allows me to position that food just right. Also, we're feeding gooey, wet mouse guts. And so, the less you get that on your hands, the better, I'm sure. But this little bird will pack it in, so I'm hoping to get about 30 or more grams in. You'd be amazed what his little body can swallow and fit in there. So I'm feeding this mouse. It's cut up There goes a whole bunch of nice liver and organs, all kinds of good vitamins in there. But remember, I did put extra water to make it a little more moisture in it, so that way to make sure he gets that moisture back in his body. And when birds come into a rehab center, it's one of the first things you check other than injuries. And it's hard to get them to just drink, so sometimes you'll give them what's called sub-Q fluids. And that's a fancy way of saying an IV, not quite an IV, but you take a syringe with saline and you inject it under the skin, usually on their legs, like on their thighs or where there's a little bit more loose skin. So, and that's what's so funny. This little barn owl, a lot of times when people see baby barn owls, they actually confuse them for vultures. You can see why. And the little barn owls, when they're this little, they are so ugly, they're cute. And, all right. You don't got to get up in his face there, cameraman Tristan. You're getting better at the camera, though, by the way. All right. We're starting to top out. Let's see here. How we doing, buddy? 226. That's 30 grams of food, so that's a good start. Need any more, buddy? Getting a little excited there. Give him a second, see how that's pushed down. We might come back to him in a moment. Another bite. Let's see, Mom would come up to him and sort of tickle the side of their beak here. And let's even theorize that some of those little feathers on the side of their face there, when you tickle them, it's that instinctual reaction to open up. So the moment he looks like he's topped out, so we're going to set him in here. We'll get the next one out. So move this little guy over here, put him in his little dish, and go to the next bird up. I'll tell you what, Tristan, why don't you get back over there so you can see. I'm going to weigh and feed this next one. Let's get the next guy down. All right. There we go. Put you right there in that dish. And he's getting more down on him. And believe it or not, these owls are only probably 2, maybe 3 days apart in hatching. Mom will lay eggs about 302. So Mom will lay the eggs about 2 to 3 days apart and hatch them 2 to 3 days apart. And that actually is sort of a survival adaptation, because one owl hatches and has a 2 to 3 day head start on growing. If they're low on food or that sort of, or have trouble feeding them all, then the older one has a greater chance of surviving, because it can outcompete its siblings rather easy for that food. And come on, get that big old goopy part down. Oh yeah, gruesome awesomeness right there. And that way it's a greater chance of survival, and so it goes on down. If they can feed 2 different ones, then then 2 might survive. Now, barn owls are known to have very large clutches. I've been told as many as 8 or more even, which is quite a bit. And when it's warmer, they're capable of having multiple clutches a year. Now, clutch is a group of eggs or babies, and see how much I fed approximately 1 mouse to that other baby. This guy is really packing it in, so I'm expecting we'll get a bit more in there, maybe a mouse and a half, 2 mice equivalent. And keep going, bud. Oh, we missed. There you go, get you a nice mouse rib cage. Let's see here. I'm wondering if he'll eat a mouse head, if he's big enough to swallow this mouse head. All right, prepare for pure gruesomeness. There you go, you little T-Rex. Oh, yeah, right down the hatch. And barn owls like this are amazing mousers. And like I mentioned, that little baby over there ate about the equivalent of 1 whole mouse. This guy is going, he's 342 grams. He's doing rather well. So, one more. Get that, another mouse head. So as long as they're willing to eat, I'm going to keep handing it to them to make sure I get them filled up all the way. All right, doing another one. Keep going, buddy. All right. See here, top you off a little bit more. You want any more? This guy's filled up. Now you hear his little brother over here fussing. So 352 grams. So he had a good feeding. So I'm going to scoop this one up. I want to see if the little one here wants another bite or two. Now that he sort of pushed some of that down. Put him right back in our little nest here. You want any more? You gonna eat him another bite or two? No, he's more likely fussing because he wants the clutch and other birds around him. So we'll put him right next to this sibling here, and they'll all crowd around each other. Now, as we go up the bird or in size, we can get the next biggest one out here. Now you see this guy is starting to get some primaries in. Right there, just barely growing. Again, really important to get that calcium in. And you see a little bit of facial disc showing up on the edge here. See how he's standing up a little bit better? Let's see how much he wants to eat. 324. There, guy, here you go. You interested? He packed a lot in earlier, so he might not be as interested in eating a lot. Because I gave him a bit more casting. Now, casting is the part that is undigestible. The fur, the claws, the teeth, the bigger bones. And in the little bitty ones, I prefer to skin the mice so that they don't get too much casting. That way I can actually fit more food in, more protein and more calcium, and get that in their system. It's so important for them for growing. As they get older, they can fit more food, and maybe their actual physical growth is slowed down a bit. So you start giving them more casting. And the casting is actually important. It helps clean out their insides, all the bacteria and leftovers when they spit that pellet up the next day. So he did get a bit of casting yesterday, or last night. And I can give him bigger pieces, which makes it quicker to feed. He's way more alert, eyes open. See how he's kind of standing up. He's putting it in pretty good. Try a goopy mouse head for you. There's a goopy mouse head. No, yum yum, right down the hatch. See if we can finish off these guys. All the mice I had chopped up for you. You're getting it down pretty well. You'll see here sometimes they'll stretch their head up real high and move it a little bit, trying to pack as much food down in there as they can fit. Now, owls don't have a crop like the hawks. That's that little storage pouch. It would be right here on their chest. So he's forcing it all straight down into his stomach. You good? Oh, we're still going. Like, man, would you wake me up? The sun's up. Let's see here. Try another goofy mouse head for you. So I'm hoping to be able to give the biggest one whole mice. Keep going. Right down ahead. You want another one? All kinds of mouse heads. You already have that after Thanksgiving sleepy look about your face. You done? One more. Oh, one more. You're going to swallow it backwards. All right. I think he's slowed down. We got him pretty well topped off. I'll try one more just because. One more. That one? Doesn't look like it. All right. So we're going to put you. 380 grams, so this way we can keep track of how much they ate. And let go here. When your little T-Rex, put you in there. All right. Get your feet under you, make you comfortable. And the last one, I'm gonna put him in here now. If you listen real carefully, you'll hear sometimes him hiss or click. He's a bit bigger and more aware of his surroundings. So let's see what happens when we get him out. Oh, he's even biting at me. Clicking his little beak. Come here, dude. Now, notice the amount of fluff on him, and he's got almost 2 inches worth of primaries coming in. So I'm hoping I can get whole mice down him in a minute. Now he's in at 332 grams, and you eat this for me, buddy? Get mad at me first. Come on, bud. He ate a mouse last night. Hopefully you gonna eat that? No, drop it. See, he knows that I'm not Mama Owl. Try to eat that. Oh, I'm getting this one down. There we go. Get a taste of mouse brains. You just swallowing it the wrong direction. There we are. All right, now we're getting on the roll here, so we can get his other mouse head. Oh. The fact that he is this wary of us is kind of a good thing. It means he is not a imprint, which means that he thinks that, or he would think that he's a person, or see people as his parents, and it doesn't make for a good candidate for release because they don't really know how to take care of themselves. And so that's why it's important to keep all 4 of these owls together. You don't want that? It must be pretty full still from last night. I can get at least another bite or 2 in. No. Ideally, we would find a rehab center that has a, oh, there we go, give him meat in first. I'm curious, I would like to be able to get a whole mouse in him, so I got the whole mice right here that I didn't cut up. I want to see, wet this a little bit for extra moisture. Oh, that's lovely. Hope none of you out there have a queasy stomach. Here you go, buddy. Eat this last one. Try it. Come on. You're going to get goo all over you. All over your nice little white fluff. No. One more time here. So what I'll do, man, let's see here. Try one last thing. You seem to like it when they could taste the meat and such. So I'm going to cut, bad pair of scissors. Cut this in half just like that. And yeah, I'm cutting gooey mice in half with my bare hands. You get used to that sort of thing when you work with these type of animals, especially the babies. Yeah, it works much better. No. So if you get a taste of it. Taste it, see? There we go. Got another half a mouse. I'd like to be able to get this other half down. If I can. Oh, big old goopy rear end of a mouse. You want this? Come on, one more bite. You can do it. It's actually part of the reason I put the paper towel in the bottom of this little dish. It absorbs all the goo that they're dropping. Boy, this is gruesome, isn't it? One more bite, or are you finished? Looks like he's not that hungry, because usually when they get a taste of it like that, once I get them started, they'll eat. One last bite. You done? He's not that hungry, which is good. That means he's nice and filled up. 356 grams. I'm just going to set him in here with his siblings all over the floor. There we go. Right in here with his siblings. And there you go, buddy. And what I'm going to do is just get a towel, cover this up, give them a little bit of privacy, and it's good for them to be raised with each other. And so we get them all set. I'm going to introduce you to our adult barn owl. I'd like everyone to meet Widget. Widget is a European barn owl. So those little fluff balls, when they grow up, they'll look something like this. Now, European barn owls are a bit smaller than the North American barn owls. And the color can vary depending on where they're found, from that grayish color to gold to just different kinds of colors to help them blend in with their environment. And barn owls are found on 6 of the 7 continents, as a matter of fact. And the only one they're not found on is, in fact, Antarctica. And it's crazy to think that the owls were in this form and spread that widely back when all the continents separated. And right now, a little Squeaky, she's constantly saying, "Are you going to feed us? Are you going to feed us?" The funny thing is, they're easily distracted. So the wind blew a little bit of leaves over there. And saw how she stopped and looked around. But there's that very pronounced facial disc there. And Widget, she has a very special job she does for us quite often. She delivers wedding rings at weddings. That's right. We call it wing bearers. Wingbearers.org. Come on, guys. That's a brilliant name. Go ahead. All right, back up here, Widget. No, over here to Tristan. Put your glove down, Tristan. Right here, Widget. There we go.
Everybody like and subscribe and share this with anyone you know.